A very good morning. I, Dr. Pallavi Chaudhary, Associate Professor from Dr. D.Y. Patil College of Pharmacy, Akudi, Pune, will be discussing today on the topic Challenges in Formulating Herbal Cosmetics. So this is the topic, and here we can see these are just some pictorial diagrams of herbal cosmetics. So basically what are the different challenges these herbal cosmetics face that we are going to study today. So to start with, let's go for the contents of the presentation. It will include introduction, then what are herbal cosmetics, then what are the formulation challenges in these herbal cosmetics, what are the different constraints of herbal formulation, and at last we will conclude with whatever the points we have covered today. So to start with this topic, first let's understand what is the definition of cosmetic. Now, cosmetics can be defined as per the Drugs and Cosmetic Act 1940 as any article which is intended to be rubbed, poured, sprinkled, sprayed or introduced or applied to any part of the human body for cleansing, beautifying, promoting attractiveness or altering the appearance of human body are termed as cosmetics. So as we know that all these cosmetics generally have all these properties and they are intended to make a person attractive by use of these cosmetics. So this is just the definition of cosmetic. Now moving further, we'll see what do you mean by herbal cosmetics. Now these herbal cosmetics basically are the preparations which consist of one or more herbs or they are processed herbs in specified quantities to provide a specific cosmetic benefit. Now what does it mean? That you may have only one herb present in a single cosmetic preparation, or you may have a combination of different herbs which are used in some specified quantities to prepare a cosmetic preparation. And if you are having these herbs or one herb present in the cosmetic preparation, it will be termed as herbal cosmetics. Now, herbal substances. Now, these herbal substances, they are basically subjected to different processes or different process conditions like extraction, distillation, expression, fractionation, purification or fermentation. And through these processes what you get these herbs in the form of powder or tinctures or some extracts, or you can extract some oils from these herbs or juice, etc. to name a few. And these form, that is the powder form or the extract, whatever we get after subjecting these herbal substances to these different processes, these extracts can be further used for formulating a cosmetic preparation. That is, you can use these forms. Say for example, if I am using a particular extract, that extract can again further be used for preparation of cream or for ointment or for gel. So these are what? These are called as the herbal cosmetics. So in short you can say herbal cosmetics, they are prepared by use of different herbs, plant materials. Now the plant materials can also vary from plant to plant, that is whether you are using the leaves of the plant, whether you are using the roots of the plant, or whether you are using some bark, or what part of that plant you are using. Depending upon that and what activity that particular part of the plant has, according to that you are going to formulate a cosmetic, and that is nothing but the herbal cosmetic. So this is the definition of cosmetic and the definition of herbal cosmetic. Okay. Now there are different challenges in this herbal medicines, or you can say herbal cosmetics. First challenge is to assess the conflicting toxicological, epidemiological and other data and verify the herbal materials used. It means that whatever the data or the literature reported, so whatever the toxicology, say for example if any plant is having some toxicity or having some toxic effect, So how you are going to have the verification of these plants? You have conducted some studies, and from that you are saying that it is having some toxicity. But always we come to a conclusion that if it is a herbal preparation, generally they do not have any toxicity. Yes, but there is some toxicity, or there may be some toxicity. It will totally depend on certain different parameters, and you have to use and you have to verify what type of plant material or the herbal materials you are using, and you are using the authentic herbal materials. The second challenge is management within the ranges of risk. Means what? That is, whatever the concentration or you are using of these herbal plants, it should be in stated amount. That is, say for example, if I am using a herbal plant, any extract of a herbal plant, so what is the minimum and the maximum levels which I can use in my cosmetic preparation, which will have the effect and it will not have any toxicity. Then the next challenge is pharmacological and toxicological and clinical documentation. We are saying that it is safe, then it is having some toxicity. So you should have a proper documentation for that, and this will further help the research scientists to develop very good herbal cosmetic preparations in future. So this data is somewhere missing, or it is also one of the challenge in herbal cosmetics. The next challenge is understanding why addition of harmful additives work. Means that is, whatever the additives we are using with herbal cosmetics, that why these additives are added, whether these additives are going to have any effect on the cosmetic preparation, that needs to be considered. Then next is drug interactions. We have to evaluate the drug interactions. That is, if I am using a combination of herbs or a combination of plant material for preparation of my cosmetic, then is there any interactions between those active constituents or not? Okay, so that is also the one point. Then constraints with clinical trials and the people available. That is how the clinical trials are performed on the human beings, and who are the people selected, how many people are selected. So this is also one of the challenge, that is how we are going to perform the clinical studies on human beings. Then the major point is also standardization. Standardization of herbal cosmetics is also very challenging. That is, you don't have any standards defined. So for any new herbal cosmetic or any new herbal plant, I have to go for a different test, and I have to prove that it is of that standard. Then next is safety and efficacy assessment. That is how I am going to prove whether it is safe or not, and whether it is efficacious, how it is going to show the efficacy of that plant. So everything also is to be needed, or it is needed to be documented properly, so that it will help the research scientists to have a better understanding of what constituents are present in the plant and how it can be used for formulating different cosmetic preparation. Next is the evaluation of these new herbal products. So if I am having any new herbal product, how I am going to evaluate that? So the first is characteristics of new substance. How I am going to characterize these new substance. So that is also one of the challenge for me in formulating herbal cosmetics. So no data is available for these new plants. So how I am going to do, which test I am going to follow for those, and how I am going to characterize those. Then the next is history and pattern of use. So if it is a new product, herbal, so what is the history of that? If I am getting any literature or any reports of this plant, and how it is to be used. So that is to be considered. Next is any adverse reaction. So if the plant is showing any toxicity or having any adverse reaction, that also should be noted down. Then the next is biological action. What biological action the product is having, that is to be reported. The toxicity and carcinogenicity. This is the other point which can be evaluated for the herbal products. And the last is the clinical trial data. So these are the different evaluation parameters which are needed for any new herbal product, and these all parameters need to be considered very seriously for the herbal product. Then moving on, we'll have the constraints in the herbal medicines. Now there are different constraints like indiscriminate harvesting and poor post-harvest treatment practices. So these are the constraints which are challenging our herbal cosmetic preparations. Then lack of research on the development of high yielding varieties domestication, that is which methods can be adopted where we will get a high yield, and what can be done, so that is lacking. Then poor agriculture and propagation methods. So we do not have the idea what the agriculture or the propagation methods can be followed, and due to that we can have a very good high yielding varieties of plants. Then inefficient processing techniques leading to low yield and poor quality products. Obviously this is also one of the constraints, that is processing techniques. Whatever the processing techniques which are being adopted, that may lead to some low yield, and that will also have some poor quality products. So there is a need to go for different processing techniques which will obviously increase the yield of the yield, as well as it will increase the quality of the product. Poor quality control procedures. Yes, quality control procedures that needs to be followed properly. Lack of current good manufacturing practices. So what manufacturing practices we are following for these herbal medicines or the herbal cosmetics? So that has to be considered. Lack of R&D on product and process development. The research and the development on these is lacking. Then difficulties in marketing. The marketing of these herbal medicines is also one of the constraints, so that it doesn't reach to the consumers. The lack of trained personnel and equipment, the lacking the trained personnel, the equipment, lack of equipment, these are also one of the constraints in herbal preparation. Lack of facilities to fabricate equipment locally. So as we are lacking in the equipment, as well as we are lacking in the facilities also to fabricate, accordingly we can customize the equipment also. That is also one of the points. Then lack of access to latest technological and market information. So we are not updated with the latest technology as well as the market information, which can help to overcome all these constraints in the herbal medicine or the herbal cosmetic. Then factors affecting the quality and purity of the herbal medicine. Now basically the factors are like drug adulteration, defective collection, imperfect preparation, incorrect storage, gross substitution with plant material, and substitution with exhausted drugs. Now first we'll go for the drug adulteration. Now basically drug adulteration means that is you're mixing any spurious or defective material with the your material. So that is called as adulteration, and this adulteration may be of two types: intentional adulteration and unintentional adulteration. So just to give one example of drug adulteration, there is the papaya seeds. They are generally mixed with the piper nigrum. So that is one of the example of adulteration, where you are mixing some other product with your product, and it will lead to the adulteration. The next factor which is affecting the quality and purity is defective collection. The collection is not done properly. Then imperfect preparation. Imperfect preparation means that is you are mixing or you are taking all the plant. That is, if I want to collect only leaves, but still you are collecting the stem, barks also with that. So that is called as imperfect preparation or the defective collection. Then incorrect storage. Obviously, if the storage conditions are not maintained properly, it will deteriorate the herbal preparation or the herbal plant material, and it will affect the constituents present in that. So say for example, if digitalis is there, digitalis leaves, they are not to be stored above 65 degrees, otherwise the glycosides in that they are lost. So proper storage conditions are required. Gross substitution with the other plant materials and substitution with the exhausted drug. So these are the factors which are affecting the quality and purity of the herbal medicines. So just to summarize, these herbs may are used used, and it needs to be looked forward